Nothing like a great day for a ball game when the Blue Jays and the Tigers go to battle on a weekend series. How did it pan out? Stay tuned. Blue Jays game recap, Victoria Day weekend edition, and the conclusion of the Victoria Day Double Trouble on Sports for Beginners starts right now. My name is Scott McGregor. Lights up, let's go. Camera, let's play ball. The Blue Jays are back, and right now, with the game having gone final, we are welcoming you in to Blue Jays Game Recap on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Now, let's go to your hosts of Blue Jays Game Recap, Thomas McGregor, Ali Musa, and Scott McGregor in the Sports for Beginners podcast studio. Take it away, gentlemen, because when the umpire says, "You're out," or "That's the game," or "Let's play ball," we know it's time for some baseball. This is Blue Jays Game Recap. Take it away, gentlemen. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Blue Jays Game Recap, the second of two editions of Blue Jays Game Recap. We are doing, including our season episode, which was episode number 12 of season number 4 of Sports for Beginners. Just a correction from the AI show notes of that show that you will most likely see. It might be corrected before both of these shows drop, but our recent game recap was the recap of the 3-game set between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays. Blue Jays taking 1 out of 3 against the Tampa Bay Rays. They beat the Rays on Dalton Varsho Gold Glove bobblehead night 3-1. Lost the other 2 games 11 to 9 and 8 to 3. 8 to 3 on Wednesday, work from Dome Day, and 11 to 9 on Looney Dogs Night presented by Schneider's. More on Looney Dogs Night presented by Schneider's a little bit later as we prepare to get you ready for the Padres and the Blue Jays. Our topic is the Tigers, and first of all, I want to wish everybody, whether these shows do drop on Victoria Day, which is tomorrow, May the 19th, 2025, I do want to wish everybody who listens in Canada a very happy Victoria Day long weekend. I hope you're enjoying the long weekend. Maybe you had a chance before the baseball game on Saturday, which was a Blue Jays Barbie game day. I called that Barbie's Dream House for the Rogers Center on that day, but we'll get to that a little bit later. I hope everybody was enjoying the Victoria Day long weekend. Maybe you had a chance to check in to Sienna T Radio for a lot of the great content. Dire news. I know this is a game recap, but dire news in the hockey world ahead of game number 6 just last night. We found out before game 6 in Dallas between the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars, who did advance by a final score of 2-1. We did find out Mark Scheifele's father had unexpectedly passed away, but Mark Scheifele still wanted to compete despite the hard time that he had gone through. So, yes, the game went into overtime, and yes, Dallas won, and yes, they move on. But I would like to take a moment before we get into everything baseball related. I'd like to take a moment to to do a quick 2 minutes of silence to honor Mark's dad. And shout out to you, Mark. You competed hard in this Stanley Cup playoffs. You and your team and the Dallas Stars, they put on one heck of a series. And I hate that it ended the way that it ended for the Jets, but there was a lot going on the night of that game, which was Saturday, May 17th, 2025. My condolences to the Scheifele family and Mark himself as they try to navigate that crisis. Not really a crisis, but that hard time. My condolences to the Scheifele family and Mark himself. With that said, we will take 2 minutes of silence in honor of Mr. Scheifele. Not Mark Scheifele, but in honor of Mr. Scheifele. Mark Scheifele's dad. Thank you. All right, now back to the baseball topic of conversation. As we like to lead off every Blue Jays game recap show, we like to lead it off with our managers, and the manager matchup for this one, AJ Hinch versus John Schneider. The meeting on the mound, that's where we go to next. Bowden Francis went for the Blue Jays in game number 1 against this man, Jack Flaherty. And meanwhile, in game number 2, starters in this one. Remember how I said Jose Urania might start this game? It turns out he did not. Reese Olson goes for the Tigers, but for the Blue Jays, they go to Eric Lawyer. I'll go with Eric out. Again, Eric, if I pronounce the name wrong, apologies in advance. Sincerest apologies. Anyway, moving on. The Tigers would go in game number 3 with Jackson Jobe, who would go against Jose Barrios in this matchup. The final matchup, which would take place today at the timing of our recording, Sunday, May 18th, 2025. Couple of saves happening here. No saves in game number 1. A save happened in game number 3. And one save happening in game number 1. We'll get to it all after this meeting on the mound, but I just did that. So one more thing we're going to do here before we take the first commercial break of this Tigers recap, Blue Jays game recap. Let's give you a look at our line score in all 3 games. Reminder of the 5-4 on Friday night, City Connect night for the Blue Jays. City Connect night for the Blue Jays. Friday nights are City Connect nights. The line score in game number 1 for the Tigers, 5 runs on 10 hits, no errors. For the Blue Jays, 4 runs on 10 hits, no errors. The Tigers hit 3 home runs, left 9 men on base, and had 20 total bases. The Blue Jays picked up a stolen base, had 18 total bases, and 2 home runs of their 10 hits. 1 stolen base, 18 total bases, 2 home runs, and 5 men left on. In game number 2, the line score for the Blue Jays, 2 runs on 4 hits, no errors. They left 5 men on base. had 5 total bases and 4 home runs. No home runs, I should say. No homers in this one for the Blue Jays. That's not what they needed. A home run for the Tigers. And speaking of the Tigers, they had 1 run on 4 hits, 1 a home run, 9 total bases. They left 3 men on base and no errors. No stolen bases for either club in game number 2. And for today's line score, game number 2's line score, 2 runs for the Blue Jays, 1 run for the Tigers. Today, which was Sunday, today's line score for the Tigers, 3 runs on 11 hits, 2 errors. They left 10 men on base, stole 1 base, didn't hit a home run. They had 14 total bases. For the Blue Jays, 2 runs on 7 hits, no home runs, 8 total bases, 1 stolen base. They left 9 men on and no errors. The player of the game in game number 3 was Spencer Torkelson, 2 for 4, a double, a strikeout, and 3 RBIs. And the starting pitchers, Jackson Joby and Jose Barrios. Both pitchers went 6 innings. Jackson Joby with 6 hits given up, 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, 4 strikeouts for Barrios, 2 earned runs, 8 hits given up in your top performers in game number 3, which was today. In game number 2, your top performers were Yariel Rodriguez, 2 innings, 1 hit given up, no strikeouts, no earned runs. Reese Olson, 6 innings of work, 1 hit allowed, no earned runs, 6 strikeouts. And the player of the game was my boy, Ernie Clement, 1 for 3 in the ball game, a walk, a strikeout, and an RBI. In game number 1, your top performers and player of the game were, for the Blue Jays, it was Bo Bichette, a home run, a double, RBI, and a run scored, 2 for 4 for Bo Bichette. For the Tigers, the top performers were Riley Green, 2 for 4, a home run, double, walk, 3 RBIs, and a run scored. And Jack Floharte, 5 2/3, picked up the win, 5 hits given up, 2 earned runs, and 6 strikeouts. Javier Baez was the player of the game in game 1. 1 for 4 in the game, a home run, RBI, and a run scored. Tigers' record at this point in time was 29-30, 29-15 before the series began. At the end of game 1, the record for the Tigers was 30-15. The record for the Blue Jays at the end of game 1 was 21-23. The record at the start of the series was 21-22. Into game number 2, the record moved from 21-23 to 22-23. And for the Tigers, it moved from 30-15 to 30-16. Record for game number 3 coming up later. But we're going to get to the game. The scoring is next for each game. Final scores 3-2 today, 2-1 yesterday, and on Friday night, 5-4, the Tigers take down the Blue Jays on Friday night. So, how did it come down to the way that it was? Find out next. And we've got the pitching line coming up later. We also have players of the series and much more. Stay with us. The Victoria Day special, Blue Jays game recap, Double Trouble, rolls on and continues with this Tigers Blue Jays game recap in a moment. Stay where you are. We'll be right back. Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8:00 p.m., and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to CNT Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. the best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait! I think I made it! Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Blue Jays game recap on our Victoria Day Double Trouble. In case you missed it in the opening moments of our show, after we were about to do our line score, and of course the managers and meeting on the mound, we revealed some tragic news with Winnipeg Jets forward Mark Scheifele. Unexpectedly, on the night of Game 6 of the Stars and Jets series, he lost his father, so we really hope that he is doing well, even though the team lost on Saturday. And for all those in the Winnipeg Jets whiteout, I hope you guys had a really good season into the off season. With that being said, we send our condolences to Mark's family and him. And right now, I want to actually take you to a little action in the NHL. We're playing Game 7 right now of the Florida and Toronto series. And right now, it does not look like the hungrier team is the Toronto Maple Leafs. It does not look like the hungrier team in this game is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Come on, buds. Let's go. You want this game so badly? Let's go. You got a hockey game to play. Let's go. Let's put this game in our hands. Pittsburgh fans, first of all, I am a Pittsburgh Penguins Canadian hockey fan, but because the Penguins are eliminated from the playoffs and didn't even make the playoffs, they missed it this year. I do not want you to think I'm bandwagoning, because that is not the case. I'm only cheering for the Maple Leafs because they are my brother's favorite team, and of course, they are in the playoffs. I feel they can get over the hump, but they've got to score goals now, and they have to do it right now. Come on, buds. Let's go. All right. I don't want to jump the gun too far, but anyways, you heard me kind of give a little shout to the Leafs. We are talking about the Jays, but something has to give for the Toronto faithful to cheer tonight. Let's go. Come on. In the end, it's a game, but we will see how it goes. All right. Speaking of game, let's get back to our original plan, shall we? As this is Blue Jays game recap, we went a little down the dumps, I should say, for the Maple Leafs and the Panthers, but of course I addressed it off the top of the show, and I'll address it again. We do send our condolences to Mark Scheifele's family and him as well, as we found out before the puck dropped on Game 6 of that Dallas and Winnipeg series that Mark's dad had passed away unexpectedly, and yet he still decided to play in Game 6. All right, here we go. Game 1 of the Tigers and the Blue Jays series, which was on Friday night, May 16th, 2025. Today is the 18th, and Saturday was the 17th of May 2025. Things get started with a bang. Riley Green picking up the game's first home run of the game. Not his first home run of the season. It was his 11th home run of the season. That gave the Red Sox the opening lead. Zach McKinstry hits his second home run of the year in the top of the fourth inning to give the Tigers a 2-0 advantage. So a home run in the top of the second by Riley Green, his 11th of the year. Speaking of whom, Riley Green doubles the lead here as it becomes 4-0 Tigers. His 8th double of the season, scores Kerry Carpenter, and Colton Keefe. So after back-to-back solo shots in right field and center field in the top of the fourth, and of course in the top of the second, first and foremost, we have the Tigers at a 4-0 lead. It would stay that way until the bottom of the sixth. Dalton Varsho strikes again. A 2-run shot gets the Blue Jays on the board. Dalton Varsho's sixth home run of the season. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. scores on the play. It's 4-2 Detroit. Bottom of the seventh. An inning later, Miles Straw puts a ball on the ground. Addison Barger scores. It's a base hit for the Blue Jays. Miles Straw in the bottom of the seventh. And here come the Blue Jays. It's 4-3 Detroit. Javier Baez says, yeah, I don't think so, ladies and gentlemen. The Blue Jays are not going to get... They're just not doing it. They're just not doing it. Okay, we were kind of distracted there. I kind of jumped off of the screen for a moment. I apologize for that. They kind of jumped off the screen there for a moment. But with that all said and done, continuing on in our scoring line, Javier Baez with the sixth home run of the season for him. It's 5-3 Detroit in top of the eighth. Bottom of the eighth, Bo Bichette gets that run right back, but it's a solo shot, so we don't go into a tie. Instead, it's the fourth home run of the year for Bo Bichette. It is 5-4, your final. Detroit winning 5-4 in this one. Moving on to game number 2, which was a happier note for the Blue Jays fans. By the way, the reason why we're at game 7 tonight is because after a so-called sacrifice dub for the Jays to give the Maple Leafs a chance to win, which they did. That's why we're playing game 7 tonight. Of course, by the time you hear this, that will be done and we will know who is facing Carolina in the conference final, in the Eastern Conference. But, keeping it back to baseball, the Blue Jays do bounce back with a nice little win of their own. Again, that is when the record was 30-15 and 21-23. Going into game 3, the records were 22-23 and 30-16. Here's how it went down on Saturday. Spencer Torkelson smacks his 12th home run of the season in the top of the second inning. We've seen that movie already. We saw it on Friday night. Now, Saturday afternoon, fly ball left center, solo shot for Spencer Torkelson. 1-0 Detroit after 2 innings of play. Fast forward, bottom of the 8th inning. We had a fast forward through the second half of the inning for the Blue Jays. The 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th inning, going all the way over to the 8th. And it's Alejandro Kirk coming up clutch to tie the game. Ernie Clement scores on this line drive single into right field. It is 1-1. And in the bottom of the 9th, speaking of my boy Ernie Clement, shout out to Ernie. A game-winning single by Ernie Clement scores. Dalton Varsho and Anthony Santander goes to third, but everybody meets Ernie at first base. Ernie Clement walks it off, and the Blue Jays win 2-1. Gonna get to game number 3 after a short commercial break. So don't go anywhere. Game number 3. Scoring. The pitching line from one of the 3 games in this series with the Tigers and the players of the series, plus where the standings stand as we speak, heading into an off day tomorrow for the Blue Jays. And of course, by the time you hear this show, we will be getting ready for the Padres and the Blue Jays. That is part of our 13th episode of season 4 of the podcast, Sports for Beginners. That is also our next Blue Jays game recap. More on that a little bit later. But meanwhile, we'll get through that all We'll get to the standings, we'll get to the players of the series, pitching line, and Game 3 breakdown scoring right after this quick commercial break. And a word from our friends over at Broadcast Map. Lots of great content on Broadcast Map, book panels. I even hear that we've got a show with Ali and Makara, a notable person on Spicy Techie. If you want to talk books, well, there's a podcast now for that. Check it out with my good friend Ali. And we have Makara as well. Some great programming that I'm sure Ali and Makara would love to hear you guys check it out. Check out Ali and Makara's books, available now wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll take a word from Ali's show Broadcast Map and be back right after this.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Tigers take 2 out of 3 against Toronto. The Blue Jays took 1 out of 3 against the Rays. Time to find out how that third game went down. Of course, coming up later, we've got our pitching line. That also will be from today's game at Rogers Center between the Tigers and the Blue Jays. But first, before we get into business, here's a look at how we stand. Only one game going on right now. That's the Yankees and the Mets. We're awaiting the final of that. But here's how the AL East standings look right now. If the Yankees were to win this game against the Mets, they would go to 27-19. If they were to lose to the New York Mets, they would go to 26-20. Meanwhile, for the New York Mets, speaking of whom, they are 29-17. If they were to lose this game, they would go to 29-18. If they were to win this game against the Yankees, they would go to 30-17. The rest of the American League East standings are the Red Sox at 23-25, the Toronto Blue Jays at 22-24 coming out of this series with the Tigers. Tigers are 31-16 coming out of that series as well. The Tampa Bay Rays are 21-25. The Baltimore Orioles, who have fired Brandon Hyde, they have let go of Brandon Hyde, I should say, as the manager. They are 15-30 right now and currently last in the American League East. The rest of the AL Central is the Twins at 26-21, the Cleveland Guardians at 25-21, 26-22 are the Kansas City Royals, and the Chicago White Sox are 14-33. In the AL West, the Mariners are 26-19. The Houston Astros are 24-22. The Texas Rangers are 25-23. The Athletics are 22-25. And the Los Angeles Angels are 20-25. Alrighty. Speaking of standings, actually, let's go to goals. Speaking of goals, we're going to get to Game 3 in a second in their scoring, but this just in, ladies and gentlemen. Remember how I said before the last break, let's go, buds? Well, Max Domi said, guess what? Let's go, buds, indeed. It's do or die time in the third period, and guess what? Max Domi said, mission accepted. We got ourselves a 3-1 game, Maple Leafs and Panthers in Game 7. Domi from McMahon, and it looks like we got ourselves a game. Oh boy, buckle up, fans attending that game. Of course, by the time you hear this show, we're gonna know what the final score is, but buckle up because It looks like you're in for a wild ride to the finish. Oh, and Carolina, I'd be watching this game if I were you, because the winner of this game is going to face you in the conference final. I would be watching you, or I would be watching the game if I were you, because you're going to find out when the final seconds tick off of that clock in Toronto, whether it's Toronto or the defending Stanley Cup champion Panthers. I'm not even gonna call the Florida Panthers the Florida Panthers. I'm gonna call them the defending champion Panthers because that's who they are right now. Come on, buds. Let's do this. Come on, let's do it, buds. Come on, get a couple more. Let's go. Let's go, buds. Get a couple more. All right, back to the topic of conversation. Pitching line of this game coming up in just a moment. But we've been taken. Oh boy. Lostorane makes it 4-1. And oh boy. I mean, Maple Leaf fans, I know you're on the edge of your seat, but oh my. Oh my god. Oh my gamikai. Not many of you would know what that means, but oh my. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. But not to quote my brother, the host of On the Ice and Behind the Benches, and a fellow Leaf fan, but I asked him, the Leafs want to win this game, right? And he said, of course they do. Or of course they want to win this game. And I said, then they need to start helping out their goalie and providing their fan base with something to cheer for. Well, I was going to say for, but I never said that. With something to cheer about. Well, they're doing that. But Thomas added after that, then they better get it together or get off the ice. Well, Max Domi has certainly gotten it together, but the rest of the team haven't been much help. Let's see what happens now that I've said that. Haven't been much help. We'll see how this finishes off. Speaking of finishing off, we have a show to finish off here. All right, no more interruptions. Spencer Torkelson getting things started. This time, action happens in the top of the first. So for 2 straight games, we saw action begin in terms of scoring in the top of the second. This time, it starts in the top of the first. Spencer Torkelson with a double. His 12th double of the season. Kerry Carpenter and Zach McKinstry score on the play. 2-0 Detroit. Detroit has the lead. Bottom of the fourth. We go to the bottom of the fourth, and the Blue Jays get 2 back. They get those 2 runs back. Alejandro Kirk, ground ball. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. scores. Dalton Varsho gets to third on the play. Ernie and Alejandro came up clutch in this one. Kirk got the game on the board for the Blue Jays with a run scored by Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Dalton Varsho scores on the play of Ernie Clement's single, and it's 2-2. Top of the 7th, Spencer Torkelson strikes again. A single this time after a double early on. That scores Gleyber Torres. Andy Albinez out at third on the throw by Dalton Varsho. Varsho throws Andy Albinez out at third to Ernie Clement, to Addison Barger for the out. I should say Ernie was actually the one that throws out Andy Albinez, but Dalton Varsho set it up so only 1 run would score. Tigers, and that's how it would end. All right, time now for your pitching line. This one coming from the game that went down today at the timing of our recording. It was earlier today. 1:37 first pitch. First pitch flew just after 1:37 p.m. at exactly 1:38 p.m. Game took 2 hours and 45 minutes to complete. Attendance was 36,064. And this was on Junior Jay's Sunday. On Junior Jay's Sunday, the pitching line for Detroit was Jackson Joby, 6 innings of work, 6 hits given up, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, an ERA of 4.12, no home runs given up. Next up was John Bariba. John Bariba would be next up and first out of the pen for Detroit. Goes 2/3, gave up 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, an ERA of 2.77. Hunter goes into the game and finishes off that 7th inning. And the first name of this Hunter dude is Brant Hunter. Brant Herter, I should say, not Hunter. Herter. Brant Herter. An inning, 1 strikeout, ends the inning of the 7th inning. An ERA of 2.35. Next guy up for the Tigers in terms of pitching is this man, Tommy Canal. Tommy Canal. Tommy K. We'll go with Tommy K. He went an inning, which was the 8th inning, gave up a hit, struck out a J, finishes the game with an ERA of 1.45. It's Vest who comes in to close the game. Not Best, Vest. Will Vest comes into the game to close out the game and the series for Detroit. Goes an inning, strikes out 1 Blue Jays batter, and gives up an ERA of, no, I shouldn't say gives up. He finishes the game with an ERA of 1.66. Not too shabby. Blue Jay pitchers in Game 3 of this series. Of course, starter Jose Barrios went in the opening. He went 6 innings, gave up 8 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk batter, 4 strikeouts, an ERA of 4.19. No sleep till Brooklyn! Give it up for Mason Fluharte. He would ultimately end up with the loss, so no loss for Jose Barrios. His record stays where it is. Mason Fluharte only went 2/3 of the 7th inning. Yeah, Braden Fisher would finish off the 7th inning and also pick up the start of the 9th inning and close out the 8th inning. We got Mason Fluharte, 1 hit given up, 1 run given up. It was an earned run, a strikeout, and a walk from Mason Fluharte. ERA of 2.37. Not too bad. A little bit of a questionable ERA for Jose Barrios, but I thought he still had a pretty good game. Mason had a nice game, an ERA of 2.37. Braden Fisher, 2 hits given up, a strikeout, no ERA resulted in 1 inning and 1/3. He went 1/3 of an inning, an inning and a third, I should say. Jimmy Garcia finishing things off. He does walk a batter, but the Jays are able to get him out of the inning, and he has an ERA of 3.32 at the end of the game. In case you missed it, the attendance of this game was 36,064. It took 2 hours and 45 minutes to complete. First pitch flew just 1 minute after 1:37 p.m. on May 18th, 2025. That was today's game, and that is where our pitching line came up. We're going to take a quick timeout. When we return to Blue Jays game recap, after a word from On the Ice and Behind the Benches, and a quick word from our friends over at Sienna T Radio, we are going to take you to the players of the series, and then what is normally called on our program when we get to the end of our show, we are going to take you to, yes, we are going to take you to, yes, we are going to take you into, 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 we are going to get into our next series for the Blue Jays and for the Tigers. Next series for the Blue Jays and the Tigers. When is the next Blue Jays game recap? Is it a season episode? We will get to it all, including players of the series, after this word from On the Ice and Behind the Benches, and of course, Sienna T Radio. Before we take a break, effort. Well, it looks like that game between the Maple Leafs and the Panthers is going to be 5-1 Panthers, and it definitely is. But there's still 9 minutes and 39 seconds to go in the game. So I wouldn't lose hope right now. But listen, you have to score at least 3 goals within that time span if you're the Leafs. 1 goal, that's effort. 2 goals, that's even better effort. 3 goals, that's an even better effort. 4 goals, okay, we got ourselves a game. But if you let Florida run all over you, you're going to get booed out of the stadium quicker than you could say, go Leafs go. We'll see how it inspires. Let's see how it turns out. Meanwhile, we'll check on that Yankees and Mets game also after the word from Sienna T Radio and on the ice and behind the benches. Stay right with us. We'll be back in a moment. Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from the puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
Sienna Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Sienna Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Sienna Radio.
Welcome back to Blue Jays game recap. Blue Jays and the Tigers, the topic of conversation. We've been talking about the Maple Leafs and, of course, the Panthers. Now it looks like the season is over for the Maple Leafs. But listen, let me address Leafs Nation first before my brother, your host of Maple Leaf Post Recap, comes on for quite a couple of those shows that he has to do for this series with the Panthers and the Leafs. Let me address Leafs Nation and Penguin fans. Again, I want to make it clear, I am not bandwagging. I am not turning my back on the Pittsburgh Penguins. But let me make it clear, I am a Canadian Pittsburgh Penguins hockey fan. Specifically, I am a Sidney Crosby hockey fan. Have I been following Crosby's work at the international stage? No. But I still am a fan. So cutting back to the Maple Leafs before we continue on our Blue Jays game recap as our Victoria Day Double Trouble wraps up. Leafs Nation, and especially my brother, and our host of On the Ice and Behind the Benches, and all Maple Leaf fans in general. You guys have had a good season. Yes, you guys want to win the cup. It hasn't happened since 1967. But be grateful with what you have. You have a captain in Austin Matthews. You have John Tavares. Okay, yeah, not a lot of you like Mitch Marner. I can understand that. Not a lot of Leaf fans like Mitch Marner. I can understand that. But listen, there's a lot to be upset about, I understand, but there's even a lot to be proud of. I mean, look at this team. Look at it. Look at the way this team, this Toronto Maple Leafs team, finished in the standings. I don't even want to look at playoffs. I don't even want to look at playoffs. This Maple Leafs hockey club, yes, they did not win the President's Trophy, which is the highest award given for the team that is number one in the National Hockey League. But 52 wins, 26 losses, 4 overtime losses, 108 points in the entire National Hockey League. 108 points. You were better than the Florida Panthers. By the way, yeah, they're the defending Stanley Cup champions. Yeah, they might not have had a better record than you, but they were also behind the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they knocked off the Lightning. The Lightning, it is unfortunate but that is how it goes. Look at the record. Look at the record. Look at the record difference. 47 wins, 31 losses, 4 overtime losses, same as the Leafs. The only difference, the Leafs won 52 more games and only lost 26 games this regular season, but yet the same story. I don't know who's going to get fired or who's going to leave the Leafs. I don't know that. We're just going to have to see where it goes in the off season. But no matter what team Brad Marchand is on, he always manages to be the Leaf killer. It is official. That is the end of the Leaf season, which means that is also official. Carolina will have an opportunity to take out the Florida Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, before they get an opportunity to defend their title against either Edmonton or Dallas. The first rule of business, get past Carolina. It's tough, I know, Maple Leaf fans. I've been there from the football standpoint. You want that championship so badly. You want that championship so badly. And I know that Buffalo Bills fans can relate to me here as a Buffalo Bills fan myself. We want that Lombardi trophy so bad. This year could be the year for the Bills. This year could be the year for the Buffalo Bills. But was it the year for the Maple Leafs? At the start of the year, yes. It could have been. It very well could have been. Could it have been the year for the Jets? Yes. At the start of the year, yes. They started off pretty good. All right, let's get back to baseball. Time for your players of the series coming out of all 3 games. First of all, we're going to pick from the first game for the Detroit players of the series. And for the player of the series in the Detroit game, we're going to go with Riley Green. I really like what I saw from Riley Green. He really stood out to me. You got to give credit where credit is due to Javier Baez and Zach McKinstry. But still, I like what I saw from Riley Green. Really set the tone early. So he will get my player of the series for Detroit. And yeah, Riley Green played all 3 games. And yeah, he may not have had very good games. But he did have a nice game in game 1. And an even better game today. Speaking of today, the player of the series for the Blue Jays, that is going to go, shout out to my boy Ernie Clement, but it's going to go to Captain Kirk, Alejandro Kirk, who not only set the tone in game number 2 to show Detroit that the Blue Jays can hang with Detroit, but he also set up a game-winning single walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th in that game on Saturday. Alejandro Kirk and Riley Green, your players of the series, which brings us to the closing moments of our program. Up next for the Detroit Tigers, they do not have an off day tomorrow. They will get right back at it with the St. Louis Cardinals as they go to St. Louis for 3 to finish off a 6-game road trip before they welcome in the Cleveland Guardians for a 4-game weekend series, and then they have a 3-game weekend series, weekday series, I should say, in Detroit, where they will take on the Giants. 2 day games on that one, and there's also a specialty ticket package for the game on Tuesday night. That's a 6:40 p.m. Eastern time start time against the Giants. The giveaway is the specialty ticket giveaway. It looks like it's a Jewish heritage jersey. That looks pretty good, actually. It looks pretty nice. Of course, they're doing a Friday night party in the park on Friday when they take on the Guardians. They will also have a giveaway on Saturday. It's giveaways on Saturdays. And there's a pink sea sucker hat that they're giving away on the 24th. It's Kids Day on Sunday. That seems like quite the day. But first, they have a road trip wrapping up with St. Louis. They will start the month of June and end the month of June with a road trip beginning in Kansas City. And meanwhile, let's go over to our Blue Jays right now. Off day tomorrow because of Victoria Day, the holiday, which is when these shows will be dropping. They might also drop before every Tuesday home game is a celebration of the humble hot dog. Hot dog night at the ballpark is on Tuesday. This Victoria Day Double Trouble may drop on the day of the first game between the Padres and the Blue Jays. First pitch, 7:07. Calling all football fans. Football fans. Don't fumble on this giveaway. Head to BlueJays.com right now and grab your tickets for the George Springer replica football jersey giveaway presented by TD. First pitch, 7:07 p.m. That's game 2 of the Padres series. Game 3, school's out. Well, actually, it's a school day. Bring your school down to the ballpark. Bring a banner too. First pitch, 1:07 p.m. Padres and the Jays will wrap it up on 1:07 p.m. on a school day on Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. They hit the road the next weekend, following this weekend that's just coming to an end, with 3 against the Rays, 3 against the Rangers, and then the Athletics are in town to start the month of June and end the month of May. With that being said, our next Blue Jays game recap is our 13th episode of our 4th season of Sports for Beginners. That will be our Padres Blue Jay recap. Look forward to seeing you then. And we are 1 episode away from revealing to you when to catch Bills postgame. And before they kick off, as well as calling all Dolphins Nation, calling all Dolphins Nation, calling all Dolphins Nation, more Dolphins postgame. You'll find out on the day before it launches, when we recorded on a Thursday ahead of the finale of the Rangers and the Blue Jays. You'll find out, of course, when the show drops, which will be ahead of the Athletic series, starting on Friday, May the 29th, 2025. You will find out. Yes, you will find out when Bills pregame before they kick off. Sorry about that. Dolphins postgame and Bills postgame will be live and on the air on Sports for Beginners. And of course, pardon me there, of course, on the ice and behind the benches as well. You will find out that ahead of Athletics and Blue Jays. Our Blue Jays coverage continues throughout the week as we get ready for the Rays and the Blue Jays at the Yankees Spring Training Complex. But first, the 9-game homestand wraps up starting on Tuesday. Look forward to seeing you at the ballpark, and we also look forward to seeing you after the school day game. This one will be pre-recorded, and it will also be audio, unless we're able to find a way to get a video and audio version to you the day of the game or after the game. One thing for sure, we will get that to you when we can. For now, that is it for this one. We send our condolences to Mark Scheifele and his family, but that is it for this one. That'll wrap it up here for our Victoria Day Sports for Beginners season episode and Blue Jays game recap double trouble feature on Sports for Beginners. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again and right after the showdown between the Padres and the Blue Jays. Blue Jays record, once again, as they head in to the off day on the holiday, which is tomorrow at the timing of our recording. Who knows, maybe it's today, May 19th, Monday, May 19th, 2025. You're probably listening to this now on this holiday off day. The record as it stands is 22-24. The Yankees did knock off the Mets, so they go to 27-19. The Mets go to 29-18, and that'll do it for us. I am Scott McGregor. Thank you so much for being with us. We will talk to you on episode 13 of season 4 of the podcast, which is our next Blue Jays game recap. Tigers beat the Jays 3-2 today. They also beat the Jays 5-4 on Friday. The Jays beat the Tigers 2-1 on Saturday. And then again, just as I mentioned today, Tigers knock off the Blue Jays 3-2. The record for the Tigers as they move to tomorrow where they take on the Cardinals. They beat the Blue Jays 3-2. Their record as they head into tomorrow, 31-16. The Blue Jays are third in the American League East. The Tigers are first in the AL Central. Where will they be when we next talk to you? You'll find out on the next episode of Blue Jays Game Recap. And the next time the two squadrons will go to battle will be after the All-Star break, heading into the August month. So Detroit and Toronto are not done, not yet, not by a long shot, but they will be eventually. I am Scott McGregor. We will see you then. Thank you so much for joining us on Sports for Beginners, the podcast, for Blue Jays Game Recap, the after show on Sports for Beginners, the podcast, right after every Blue Jays game. To learn more about upcoming episodes, when they drop, and schedule, please visit https://sportsforbeginners0.wordpress.com. Follow the show on Facebook at facebook.com/sportsforbeginners87. Send us an email at sportsforbeginners87@gmail.com. Follow Ali, Thomas, and Scott on Twitter at Scott McGregor3, Thomas J, and ALI Musa. Follow Thomas and Scott on Instagram at SMC_87_ and TM_80 and TM00_. Thanks for listening to Blue Jays Baseball, and we hope to see you soon again. This has been Blue Jays Game Recap. Once again, the website is https://sportsforbeginners0.wordpress.com. Thanks for listening. And when it's time for the Blue Jays to play ball, there's only one chant Blue Jays fans will be using. Catch you later, baseball fans.